Prehistoric Park is one of the greatest TV shows of all time. It has the brilliant zoologist Nigel Marven going back into prehistory to rescue prehistoric animals from extinction by using a time machine to bring them back to modern day. The acting and production value are amazing, and overall it is a spectacular show. But not everything in the show is perfect. The show was made in 2006, and there are a considerable amount of things that don't hold up to today's paleontological standards. In this series, we are going to look through these inaccuracies and dedicate a video to each episode. In this episode, we're going to be looking at episode 1, titled T-Rex Returns. As the title implies, this episode's main focus is Tyrannosaurus Rex. The episode is set in the Hell Creek Formation in North America 65 million years ago. The first inaccuracy of the episode is how Hell Creek is presented. It is portrayed as a large ash field, which was filmed in a Chilean national park. In real life, Hell Creek would most likely have consisted of flat plains, lush vegetation, forests with a lot of rainfall. A better representation of Hell Creek is the one from the Saurian game, which is the most accurate look into this ancient ecosystem as we can get. The first creature we see in the show is Ornithomimus. It's quite inaccurate, but they do get some things right. The first inaccuracy is the pronation of the hands. Dinosaurs were not able to achieve this pronation without breaking their hands. In real life, the hands would be facing each other as if the animal was clapping. Another major inaccuracy in the Ornithomimus design is feathers. Nowadays, Ornithomimus and related species are thought to have a full body covering of feathers that should look like this. The final inaccuracy I have found comes from this shot of the Ornithomimus. You can clearly see the animal's tongue sticking out as it screeches. This is inaccurate, as it is thought that most non-avian dinosaurs' tongues were most likely attached to the lower jaw, similar to crocodiles, or was just very immobile and rigid, not like the Ornithomimus tongue seen in the show. Other than these inaccuracies, the show got the features of the Ornithomimus quite right. It doesn't look shrimp-wrapped, so that's good, and the design and colour patterns are nice and eye-catching, making this animal stand out amongst other depictions of the creature in paleo media. The next creature seen in the episode is the target animal, the Tyrannosaurus Rex. The design and colour look spectacular, but this amazing model is not free of inaccuracy. The first inaccuracy of the organism is that the animal is too skinny. It looks more like an Albertosaurine. It should be more muscular. Another thing to note is the theropod's feet. There are no shock-absorbing pads on it. A real Tyrannosaurus would have shock-absorbing pads on the bottom of their feet. To be fair to the show, there do seem to be thin, small pads on the animal's feet, but they're not enough and they're barely visible. These pads were to protect the bones and also maybe aid in balance. The T-Rex's arms are also pronated, like that of the Ornithomimus. They should face each other instead of being pronated downward. The animal would have had to broken its arms to achieve this position. Now we move on to the head of the animal. The first thing is that it's the wrong shape. It more resembles that of an Albertosaurus than a T-Rex. Here's what it should look like compared to that of the Prehistoric Park model. The animal is also shrink-wrapped. This is when features like the fenestrae in the skull are visible from the outside. The animal should not be shrink-wrapped unless it is badly starving. Now we get to the feathers. It is a very debated topic, and there are good points on both sides of the argument. But personally, I believe T-Rex should have a light bristly covering of feathers that run along its back to its tail. Its scales should be small and round, which makes a leathery kind of texture along the animal. A lot of these inaccuracies were not known at the time when the show was made, so you cannot really fault Prehistoric Park for having them. The Tyrannosaurus should also not be able to roar like it does in the show. It made a more grumbly, lower-pitched, unsettling sound that, in my opinion, sounds even scarier than a roar. There was also a pair of juvenile Tyrannosaurus Rex featured in the episode. They suffer from all the inaccuracies as the adults do, but the juvenile should also have a longer snout and longer legs. At the time, we did have juvenile Tyrannosaurus fossils, but at the time it was also thought to be its own species. It was called Nanotyrannus. Nowadays, we think of Nanotyrannus as being a juvenile Tyrannosaurus Rex, but it was not known at the time, so I cannot fault the show for this inaccuracy. A thing that did get right in the show was the pack-hunting behaviour of T-Rex. We now know that this is accurate, and related species like Edaphosaurus also share this behaviour. Triceratops is also in this episode. The Triceratops model has an amazing colour pattern with beautiful eye spots on the frill and head. It has a very realistic and lifelike model. It's alright with accuracy, but there are definitely some critiques we can make for the model. The Triceratops shown in the episode is a Triceratops horridus, as said by Nigel, which is an inaccuracy in itself, due to the fact that this type of Triceratops was not around at the time when the episode takes place. Instead, its relative, the Triceratops process, was the one that lived in the time where the episode is set. The Triceratops lacks a keratin faceplate, and its horns should be covered in keratin. The body shape is wrong too. Here is a comparison of it and what it should look like. The neck is also too long. We have quite good scale impressions of Triceratops, and know that it had hexagonal scales, not like the prehistoric park Triceratops. We also know that Triceratops had scutes on its underbelly. The outermost fingers of the design have claws on them, which is a thing that no Archosaur had. The outermost fingers should be clawless. Like the T-Rex, the episode also shows juvenile versions of the Triceratops. Again, the babies suffer from all the inaccuracies that I've already pointed out, and the Triceratops also had ontogeny like the T-Rex, which the episode failed to show. The juveniles in the episode are identical to the adults, which is highly inaccurate. A good representation of Triceratops juveniles and ontogeny in the species comes from this diagram from the Saurian game. One thing I'd like to mention in particular is a shot in the episode that no one really talks about. In one shot, Nigel looks up to see a group of beautiful pterosaurs flying above him. If you look closely, you can see that they are the Nyctosaurus model from a later episode. This animal was extinct at the time that the episode took place, and pterosaurs like this should not be around at the time, as jar-kid pterosaurs are the only ones that should be around, and not these short-necked Nyctosaurus. They are mildly inaccurate, but I'll cover them in a later episode where they have more focus and better shots. And with that, that's the end of the video. If there's anything I missed, please comment it down below, and I hope you enjoyed it. I have to really thank King Rexy, Archeoraptor, Edaphosaurus and Jenna for providing me with information for this video. I also want to thank Benji Thomas because I got a lot of information from his videos. I've posted links to all of their stuff in the description below, so please check them out. And I'll see you guys in the next episode. Goodbye.